Hello everyone, welcome to the Hindu Current Affairs for Beginners. Let's start our today's session. Before starting our today's session, first let us see answers for the questions from our previous video. With regard to electoral bonds, which of the following is not correct? The electoral bonds will not be the name of the donor or the political party. Yes, the identity of the political party or the donor, whoever is donating, will not be disclosed. Only the banks will know the details. A person, either citizen of India or foreigner, can purchase the electoral bonds. Here we have to see one thing. It is either a citizen or foreigner can purchase the electoral bonds. We have seen that only the citizen of India or an entity that is incorporated in India can only purchase these electoral bonds. So the second statement is incorrect. Foreigners cannot purchase electoral bonds, and also these bonds were available only in Indian rupees. Donor will get tax deduction and the political party will get tax exemption if the details were filed properly. In the year of Lok Sabha elections, electoral bonds will be available for an additional period of 30 days. Actually, these bonds will be available for purchase for a period of 10 days each in the beginning of every quarter. That is, they will be available in January, April, July and October months, and also the dates when these electoral bonds will be available, that means in which 10 days they will be available, will be specified by the central government. Whereas in case of the year during which the Lok Sabha elections are going to held, an additional period of 30 days will be specified by the central government. So even this statement is correct. As the question is which of the following is not correct, the answer here is B. The next question is, how is National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority different from Central Drug Standard Control Organization? NPPA is an independent regulator. It is an independent regulator for pricing the drugs. They will fix the prices of the drugs. Whereas CDSCO is responsible for approving the licenses and also approving those new drugs and in conducting clinical trials in the country. This statement is correct. NPPA functions under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, whereas CDSCO works under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Even this statement is correct. As both the statements here are correct, the answer here is C, both 1 and 2. Dear students, these two regulators were very important because these two were continuously in use. NPPA recently has reduced the prices for some of the cancer drugs, and CDSCO has asked the manufacturers to tell what will be the side effects of those drugs. So as these two were in use, these two were very important. Now let's start our today's session, and these are all the topics that we are going to cover in our today's video, and the link for the notes of this video is already available in the description below. Our first article is Opposition to Move Supreme Court Again for 50% Paper Trial Verification. This article comes under GS Paper 2 under the topic of polity. Here the opposition parties who have already filed a petition seeking 50% of the VVPAT slips need to be counted. But the Supreme Court has asked the Election Commission to increase it to 5 randomly selected EVMs in each assembly constituency. We'll see the details of this. And from the prelims point of view, from this article, we should know what is this EVM and what is this VVPAT. First of all, what is meant by EVM? EVM is the electronic voting machine, which is used for voting through electronic means. This EVM is designed with 2 units. This is important. One is control unit and the other one is balloting units. These 2 units were joined through a cable. The control unit of the EVM will be kept with the presiding officer or the polling officer, and the balloting unit will be kept within the voting compartment for the electors to cast their votes. This is done in order to ensure that the polling officer can verify the identity of this voter. And with the EVM, instead of using a ballot paper, the polling officer, what he'll do is he will press the ballot button so that it will enable the voter to cast their vote. A list of candidates' names or the symbols will be available on this voting machine with a blue button next to it, so that the voter can press the button next to the candidate's name they wish to vote for. Next, what is this VVPAT? Actually, there is a rule 49A, rule 49A of the Conduct of Election Rules of 1961. This rule says every EVM, electronic voting machine, will have a control unit and balloting unit, and also it can be attached with a voting machine for printing a paper trail of the vote. This rule 49A of Conduct of Election Rules of 1961 says that this VVPATs can be attached to the EVM. Then what is this VVPAT? It is a machine that is attached to the EVM. It will allow the voter to verify whether they have voted to the person they wanted to. How this will work? When a voter casts his or her vote on the EVM, as we said that it will contain list of the candidate names and a blue button. Once they presses that button, then the VVPAT that is attached to this EVM will generate a paper slip, and that paper slip will have name of the candidate and also symbol of that candidate, party symbol of that candidate. This is very important. What and all the VVPAT slip contains? Name of the candidate as well as symbol of the party of the candidate. This could be a possible question, and this will be recorded in this EVM's control unit, which is there with the polling officer, and the printer is attached to the balloting unit. This printer will be attached to balloting unit, and this will be kept in the voting compartment. The paper slip, which consists of name of the candidate and the party symbol of the candidate, will be visible for 7 seconds through a transparent window, and later the slip will be cut off, and this can be used to tally with the button that is pressed in the electronic voting machine. When it is first used, these machines were first used in a by-election in Nagaland in 2013. Then, what is the method of counting this VVPAT slips? This is always in use, and even from this there could be a possible question. The poll panel is right now adopting a system of counting these VVPAT slips. They are not counting all the VVPAT slips in all the polling booths along with the EVMs. They are only selecting one random polling booth in an assembly constituency in case of legislative assembly elections, if they are legislative assembly elections, whereas in case of parliament election they are selecting one polling booth in each assembly segment, and they are only counting those VVPAT slips. But now recently the Supreme Court has ordered to extend this number to 5 randomly selected EVMs in each assembly constituency. But the opposition parties were saying that count 50% of the VVPAT slips. So even this can be a possible question. So how the Election Commission is counting, whether they were counting one randomly selected polling booth or whether they are counting all the VVPAT slips. The next article is Canada removes Khalistani extremism from terror report. This article comes under GS paper 1 under the topic of history as well as GS paper 2 under the topic of international relations. Here the Canadian government has removed a reference to the Sikh extremism. In 2018, the Canadian government has published a report that is known as 2018 Public Report on terrorism threat to Canadian terrorism. In that report, they referred this Sikh terrorism. They mentioned it as Sikh terrorism as one of the 5 key terror threats that were being faced by Canada. But now the Canadian government has removed this Sikh terrorism term from it. From the prelims point of view, what is important for us here is, what is this Khalistan movement that is mentioned here? This Khalistan movement is a Sikh separatist movement in order to create a separate country called as Khalistan in the Punjab region, to serve that region as a homeland for Sikhs. And the territorial definition of this Khalistan is, it consists of both Punjabs, Punjab located in India and Punjab part in Pakistan, along with some parts of Haryana, Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir, and also some parts of Rajasthan. In December 2018, our Indian government has declared this Khalistan Liberation Force as a banned organization under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967. So let me repeat it. This Khalistan movement is a Sikh separatist movement. They wanted to create a separate country called as Khalistan in the Punjab region as a homeland for Sikhs. The next article is Necessary Steps to Ending Poverty. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of Polity and Governance. Here this entire article is about it's been 50 years since Indira Gandhi has brought this idea of eradicating poverty into the electoral arena in India. She used a slogan known as Garibi Hatao. So from this article, from the prelims point of view, there were 3 poverty alleviation programs that were mentioned here. One is PM-KISAN, another one is Nyuntam Aay Yojana, and the other one is Universal Basic Income. First, let us see what is this Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, PM-KISAN. Under this program, the vulnerable land-holding farmer families, please remember this, it is the land-holding, not landless farmers, land-holding farmers who were having a cultivable land up to 2 hectares. It is not 2 acres, but it is 2 hectares. Cultivable land. The farmers, land-holding farmers who were holding a cultivable land up to 2 hectares, they will be provided direct income support of 6,000 rupees every year. And this income will be transferred directly into the accounts, bank accounts of these beneficiary farmers in 3 installments, 2,000 each. And this program will be funded by the Government of India, due to which 12 crore small and marginal farmer families are expected to benefit from this program. Here what we need to remember is, it is going to benefit the land holding farmer families who are having a cultivable land up to 2 hectares. It is not 2 acres, and they will be receiving an income support of 6,000 rupees every year. The next thing is Nyuntam Aay Yojana. Before looking into this Nyuntam Aay Yojana, first we should know what is meant by minimum income guarantee. Minimum income guarantee is a system of social welfare provision that will guarantee all the citizens or the families who were below poverty line. This minimum income guarantee scheme will provide all the citizens who are below poverty line and who belongs to Antyodaya Anna Yojana to provide sufficient income for them to live on, provided that they meet certain conditions like citizenship status, economical backwardness. Then only they will be provided with this minimum income for them to live on. Now, let us see what is this Nyuntam Aay Yojana. This is a minimum income guarantee scheme that was proposed by the Congress party in its manifesto. If it is voted into power, under this scheme, they wanted to transfer 6,000 rupees per month. Please remember, it is not year, per month, into the bank accounts of 50 million families. And those 50 million families comprises poorest of the poor. And this program might cost around 3.6 lakh crores. And this program was announced by the opposition Congress party as part of its manifesto if it is voted into power. Now, the next thing is universal basic income. What is this universal basic income? This is a program to alleviate poverty by providing basic income to all the citizens. Here, from the name itself, we can say it is saying universal basic income. In order to alleviate poverty, the basic income will be provided to all the citizens of a particular country or a geographical area, irrespective of their income, social status or employment status. According to a basic income earth network, this is a global network of academics, students and social policy practitioners, and this Basic Income Earth Network is a repository of published research on universal basic income. According to this network, what is meant by basic income means it is a periodic cash payment unconditionally delivered to all on an individual basis without means test or work requirement. That means it is not going to look into what is their social status or employment status. This universal basic income is characterized into 5 divisions. One thing what we have said is it is periodic. That means it will be paid at regular intervals but not in a lump sum, not a lot at a time, but it will be paid in regular intervals. Next, cash payment. Here, this will be provided in the form of income but not in the form of social welfare schemes like in kind. They are providing some food material through PDS. It is not in that way. Directly income will be provided, some payment will be done. And another category is individual. It is not to the household or to a family, but to every individual this basic income will be allotted, and it is universal. That means it is for all irrespective of their social status and employment status. And one more thing is unconditional. It is not based on their employment status. It is not based on their income or prospects of the job. The next article is Highway Hurdle. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of polity and governance, and it also comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of environment as well as infrastructure. Here the Madras High Court has quashed this land acquisition proceedings. There is a project that was proposed between Chennai and Salem, Greenfield Expressway. In order to build this Greenfield Expressway, what is Greenfield Expressway? It is something new project. It is not an existing or modifying the existing project, but an all new highway is going to build between Chennai and Salem. So in order to construct this expressway, land is required. So the land acquisition proceedings were started, but the Madras High Court has stopped these land acquisition proceedings. So from the prelims point of view, from this article, we should know what is this National Highway Authority and what is Bharatmala scheme and what is this environmental impact assessment. First of all, what is this Bharatmala Pariyojana? This is a new umbrella program for highway sector. In order to optimize the efficiency of passenger movement across the country by constructing the important infrastructure through effective inventions like developing the economic corridors. It has 6 things: inter corridors and feeder routes, national corridor efficiency improvement, border and international connectivity roads, coastal and port connectivity roads, and constructing greenfield expressways. These are the 6 components under this Bharatmala in order to optimize the efficiency of freight, that is transport and passenger movement across the country by bridging, that is by removing the infrastructure gaps through these effective interventions. Here, this scheme, all the aspects of this scheme will be managed by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and this program will be implemented through National Highway Authority of India, National Highways Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited, and also by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways as well as State Public Works Departments. This is a program related to the highway sector, and here what is important is who are the implementing bodies as well as what are the components of this Bharatmala Yojana. These are important from the prelims point of view. The next thing is, let us see what is this National Highway Authority of India. This National Highway Authority of India was set up by an Act of Parliament, that is known as National Highway Authority of India Act of 1988. Why it is established? To implement a program known as National Highways Development Project. This project is the India's largest ever highways project. To implement this project in a phased manner, this National Highway Authority of India was established. And we have to know what is meant by a national highway first. National highways are the roads of the country for interstate movement of passengers as well as goods. These are the roads of the country that will provide interstate movement of goods and passengers, and they cover the length and width of the country, connecting national as well as state capitals. It connects to major ports, it connects to rail junctions, and it will link up with the border roads as well as foreign highways. The national highways, including the expressways, were approximately of a total length of 1,32,499 kilometers, and they serve this road network of the country. What will this National Highway Authority do? They will develop, maintain and manage these national highways, and they will collect the fees on national highways, and they will also regulate and control the vehicles on national highways for its proper management. They will advise the central government on matters that are related to highways, and also they will assist the state governments in formulating and implementing the schemes for highway development. The next thing is environmental impact assessment. What is meant by environmental impact assessment? It is a management tool to ensure that optimum use of natural resources for sustainable development. To put it simply, this environmental impact assessment is a detailed study of what will be the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project. For example, there is a development project that is proposed. Now, what will be the potential impact of this project on environment? That is known as this environmental impact assessment. This will help us to predict what will be the environmental impacts at an early stage in project planning and in designing. Based on these reports, the Environment Ministry or a relevant regulatory body may or may not grant approval to the project. Then, what is the legal backing to this assessment? It is mandatory under the Environmental Protection Act of 1986 for 30 categories of developmental activities to undergo this environmental impact assessment, and these projects were again divided into category A projects and category B projects, and again this category B is divided into two types. One is B1, category B1 and category B2. These category A projects will be looked into by the central government, whereas category B projects will go to the state government, and this B1 projects, they need a public hearing for conducting this environmental impact assessment, whereas B2 projects, they don't need an environmental impact assessment. Now let us see what is the process in brief. First of all, the screening will take place. What is screening? It is the simplest process in this assessment. It will decide whether this project needs this environmental impact assessment or not. Simply, yes, it is needed. Then it will go to a preliminary assessment. This preliminary assessment involves research, review of available data, and it will also take the expert advice to identify what could be the impact of the project to the local environment. And then comes this scoping. After the preliminary assessment, yes, if they consider EAI is required, then they'll go for scoping. Here, the study team, EIA study team, they will have discussions with the developers or the project proponents, the regulatory agencies, scientific institutions, and also local people, and they will study and address all the issues that and concerns raised by all these peoples, local, scientific institutions, regulatory agencies, the project proponents, and they will select the primary impact for this EIA to focus, and they will provide a detailed and comprehensive terms of reference for the main environment impact assessment, and they will predict what could be the impact, whether a positive impact or a negative, and then they will provide a EIA report, and that report will consist of, if those impact is less, then they will suggest the steps to prevent or minimize the impacts. Here that report will contain even this mitigation, impact and impact management details. Then it goes for a review. Here the public will be involved. They will go for a public hearing. Once this EIA report is done, the public as well as environmental groups who are living near to this project site will be informed, and they will be consulted. Then the decision will be made. This impact assessment authority, along with the experts, they will consult the project in charge along with the consultant to take a final decision, keeping in mind this environmental impact assessment report. What are all the things that were told here? If the decision is approved, then the project will be implemented, and whether it is going in line or not, it will be followed up. If it is not approved, it might go for a redesign, and then it will be resubmitted, and again the whole process will take place from screening to decision making. It involves the public and also the other authorities. The next article is UPI sets searing pace with e-wallets wobble. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. Here this entire article is talking about the payments. The UPI through UPI transactions were more comparing to these e-wallet transactions. From the prelims point of view, here we should know what is this UPI, NPCI and e-wallets. First of all, let us see what is this NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. This is an umbrella organization to operate all the retail payments, to operate all the individual payments and settlement systems in India. This is a not-for-profit company. It is a non-profit organization that is listed under Companies Act of 1956. Who initiated this NPCI? It is the Reserve Bank of India and Indian Banks Association under the provisions of Payment and Settlement Systems Act of 2007. This is important. This is initiated by RBI as well as Indian Banks Association. What are the products of this NPCI? Immediate Payment Services, which is also known as IMPS, National Financial Switch. This UPI is also a product of this. RuPay Credit Card is a product of NPCI, and also BHIM app is also a product of this NPCI. Only thing we have to remember here is it is an umbrella organization to operate all the retail payments and settlement systems in India. And one more thing is it is this entity which will link all the ATMs in the country. Now we have seen that this UPI is a product of NPCI. What is this UPI? Unified Payment Interface. This is a system that will loop in multiple bank accounts into a single mobile application of any participating bank. Here, what is the uniqueness of this unified payment interface is, here let me tell you the example first. Right now most of us were using this Google Pay, BHIM, all these were working based on this UPI technology. So here what will happen here is, here we have to link with our bank account so that from this bank account we can transfer money or receive money from any bank account. We can send money to any bank account or we can receive money from any bank account. So this payment interface, this will be an interface that will allow these payment transactions. So that we are seeing this through Google Pay, immediately we can transfer the money, and that too round the clock and 365 days. A single mobile application to access different bank accounts. We can transfer to, let us say my bank account is SBI account. From this I can transfer to Axis, I can transfer to ICICI, any bank. And for this transfer, you don't need the details, the bank details of the person whom you are transferring. Only a virtual address will be there. You just have to know his or her number or virtual address to transfer the amount. Because here the card number, account details, IFS code were not needed. As I've said, here the example here is BHIM app. This was started using this UPI interface by the National Payment Corporation of India only. Next thing is e-wallets. Here these are opposite to this UPI. This e-wallet is a type of electronic card which is used for online transactions through a smartphone or through a computer. Here they will be used similar to that of a credit card or debit card. The example of this e-wallet is Paytm or Airtel Money. All this will come under this e-wallets. Here what we need to do is, it is like a prepaid account in which I can store some amount. I can add my money into it for any future online transactions. And also my wallet will be protected with a password. With the help of an e-wallet, I can make payments for groceries, online purchases and flight tickets and purchasing bus tickets, all these. The example of this e-wallet is Paytm and this Airtel Money. So this is all for today and see you all in tomorrow's video. Thank you.